Praise and Production.
What up, fam? CA, Gumbolaya podcast. Another episode of Ramblin. I think this is number 3. I'm here and I'm doing good. You doing good? What? You doing good? Okay, good. I want to talk about kindness. Very simple concept, but I don't think it's at the forefront of people's minds all the time. And I recently had a conversation with a good friend. This friend has a reservation about the word nice, what it means to be nice to people. And we ended up, after we talked about, the particulars of that word, we ended up speaking about the concept of kindness. And we both agreed that what I was more so referring to when I talked about being nice to people and whatnot, he saw as the concept of kindness. And, I don't know, maybe we'll have the conversation about what he sees as the word nice, because to me, they're very similar. But the concept of kindness is what we talked about for a long time. And we eventually, the two of us ended up talking to some other people. We were on tour and we ended up talking to some other people, the concept of what it means to be kind. I mentioned, I believe in the first episode, of how significant difficult, tough experiences in your life will be, and how the impact that they have on your life and how you think and onto your heart are very significant. And I wanted to revisit that point because as it relates to kindness being a conscious choice that has to be intentional versus those of you that have been through it or that are going through it or that have seen others go through it, trauma and struggle and, trials and tribulations can leave a lot of hurt, right, in your heart. And if you've ever heard the expression, it's very true. Hurt people, right? People who are hurt end up hurting others if they are not able to address and heal and get that pain that they feel or that they have felt resolved. If they're not able to come to terms with how their experience has affected the way they think, how they feel, right? If they don't learn aspects of their character that contributed to what they go through, that's a very important and eye-opening aspect of life that you don't know until you know. You know what I mean? You don't know what parts of your character has affected someone else when they do something that's not cool. And, it's not to excuse people that do stuff that, that's awful. We all make decisions and those decisions can affect other people. And, so not to excuse people that do horrible things, but we do have a responsibility in how we make the decision to act out because of it, right? You can let a difficult situation make you a better person by learning and growing from the situation, or you can let a difficult situation justify you doing something awful in return for revenge or back to the person that hurt you, or you can let that pain sit and choose not to engage in therapeutic processes to kind of help you learn and grow. And then you end up, hurting somebody else. You see it all the time in TV shows and movies and stuff like that, where someone goes through horrible situations at one point in their life, and then later on in the episode or, later on in the movie or whatever, you see them hurt somebody else because, they haven't dealt with what happened to them. So it's unavoidable. Sometimes it's unintentional, and sometimes it's a subconscious motivation. But sometimes it can be very very purposeful. That's not in my nature at all. But I have gone through a situation where some people that I cared about very much, they hurt me really bad. They hurt me really bad, and I did spend time thinking about what to do in response, right? And I just had to talk myself out of feeling like there was any legitimacy or rationality or any benefit to the payback mentality, because I fundamentally believe that that's not the path of God. It's with vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against angels and principalities in the dark places. I think that's the scripture. It's not for us to settle the score. And I know a lot of people don't believe that, and respect to whatever path you feel like is best for you. But if that path allows you to hurt someone because you've been hurt, I don't see that as a good thing. And I don't. There's already enough hurt in the world. When it comes your way, find the strength to heal and grow, and to stop that cycle. You know what I mean? When it comes your way, give it to God, let it go, and do your best to return that with putting more into the world that you would have wanted to receive, instead of putting back what you didn't want. But to each their own. But that's what we do naturally. And I don't even know if it's a natural thing. That's what we do culturally, maybe, conditionally, maybe. I don't know. But I do know that the decision to be the type of person that you want to experience, that you want to have encounters with, is a decision you have to make. And for me, kindness is one of them, because I've benefited so many times in my life, whether in small ways or in great ways, for just somebody being kind, somebody being considerate, somebody making a decision to show me love in a way that really mattered in the moment. And they didn't have to, and it has to be a conscious decision. It does, because the opposite just kind of comes out. And well, at least in my experience, it's usually unintentional. I end up doing hurtful things or saying hurtful things because there's something in me that I'm unaware of, or that I don't know how to deal with, and then it comes back out to that other person or in a situation. But choosing to be kind, and it could be simple things as helping somebody with their groceries when you can see they got a bunch of stuff. Yo, you like some help with that? Most of the time people are gonna be like, nah, I'm cool, because they don't know you, and it's a lot of weird people in the world. But sometimes somebody, actually, yeah. I remember very recently I was coming back from grocery store, and my neighbor saw that I had a bunch of bags to get, and he offered to just help me carry my bags. I mean, I had more than just groceries. I had my book bag with some equipment in it, and I had a bunch of stuff. And I think I'd bought some flowers for Kel, and it's hard to carry a bunch of stuff with some flowers because you don't want to just, crush them up and everything. So I had a bunch of stuff, and my neighbor offered to help me with some groceries, yo. And, for those of you that live in, places with a lot of people, major metropolitan areas, people do not be engaging with their neighbors like that. So I'm from Georgia. I've mentioned it. I'm from Georgia, and the neighborly vibe is much more common where I'm from. So to me, that was very nice, but it's just very nice. You be nice to people you live around because they're your neighbors, But I learned when I moved to Los Angeles, people don't be like, a lot of times people don't even know their neighbors. I remember when I moved to LA, and a person who is now one of my closest friends, he and I got an apartment, and I went next door and to the other side and across the way, And I knocked on the door and I'm like, yo, my name is CA. I live over there. How you doing? This is me. I think I had cards I gave. Here's my phone number if you need something or whatever. I'm your neighbor, right? And he might have saw me do it one time, or I might have told him or whatever. But some kind of way he found out, and he was like, "Oh, what you doing?" I was like, "I'm introducing myself to the neighbors, man. You gotta know the neighbors, man." And he was like, "Yo, like I've lived here for many years. I don't be knowing my neighbors. Like you don't need people all up in your business or whatever." Might be true. There could be some sound thinking to that, but like what good comes of it? You avoid the bad, and I get that. There's a lot of bad, there's a lot of weird people. I get that. There's a lot of reasons to be afraid. I get it. But you have to be intentional with the good things. And my goal, it was a conscious decision, but it wasn't me doing something that I think is the strategic way to live in an apartment complex. It wasn't that. I was just like, yo, I'm living next to these people. I need to know who they are. And I felt like it's what I always would do anytime people will move in and out of the neighborhood. Not everybody, but if they, near us, I just go see who they are. And a lot of it is because I lived in the same house that I was born into until I moved to Los Angeles. So I went to college from home, and I didn't move out until I was 24 years old. And I moved to LA. And there's a lot about life that I learned in that process, both getting ready for it and when I got here, seeing how differently people live, because I'd, visited people's places and I would go over, people's houses and I'll hang out sometimes for long periods of time, but I never lived with anybody else, never. So this was the first time in my life where I was not living at home, but I also didn't have my own place. When I came here, I was able to get on my feet because of someone's kindness, right? A close friend of mine went to a college that, very reputable. He went to Berkeley, up in Massachusetts, and made a lot of friends there. And a lot of them came to LA. Well, when we were coming to LA, one of those people who did not know me, he was willing to let me crash on his couch until I got on my feet. That is a very kind thing to do. He's a lifelong friend now. I love him dearly. Shout out to that individual. I don't know if you want me to say your name because of, the conditions, but I love you and I appreciate you so much. You were a significant part of a significant time in my life, and you are a very positive part of it, So he knows who he is. But that was a significant act of kindness. And I'm speaking to you from the benefit of that kind of gesture, not saying that you got to move in a stranger, because that is a huge risk. It is. But in that situation, he knew someone very well that knew me very well. Right. So there's some wisdom to it. Right. And having kindness in his heart and the desire to be kind to someone made a huge difference in my life. I was able to have somewhere safe to sleep, right, where I could lock a door. I wasn't able to stay there forever, so I was homeless for a little while, but I was safe for a little while. And then sometimes I had to be in the truck, sometimes I had to be in the hotel room or whatever until my money ran out and I was back in the truck, but for most of that time before I got the apartment I was just referring to with another person who became my friend, I was safe and stable because of someone's kindness. And that is a significant gesture of kindness. You don't have to jump into significant gestures of kindness. You could do small gestures of kindness. You could take out a neighbor's trash. So one of the things I noticed that a lot of people do in apartment complexes where the doors are outside, versus a building where all the doors are inside, is people will put trash outside their door, and then the next time they go downstairs, they'll take their trash with them. And another thing, people get deliveries, for example, and I think it was the place where we lived before where we live now. We would grab packages for each other, and I think it started because someone did that for another person, or did I do it? I don't remember. But it became normal for us to hit each other up. Yo, you got a package, you want me to hold on to it? And it was because the place I lived before, the doors to our apartments were facing a driveway, and then the driveway directly connected to a major street, or not a major street, but a street. And, it's very easy for somebody just to drive up, snatch a package and split, So we would grab stuff for each other, and then we would just message each other, yo, got a package, whatever. And that's something that I continued to do by instinct, and because I just felt like it's a helpful thing to do if somebody wants you to do that. You ask first. But when I moved where we live now, that's what happened. Our neighbors get regular deliveries of a couple things. And I just hit them up. Yo, you got a package? You want me to grab it for you? Because, our doors face a major street again. And my neighbor mentioned to me, he was, yo, this is very nice of you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's a goodwill gesture. You know what I mean? It doesn't change the earth in and of itself, but it is a very nice gesture, and it establishes some goodwill. And, as much goodwill as you can stock up is a good idea, because when the difficult moments come, I think you'd be surprised, if you don't know this already, I think you'd be surprised to know how much difference can come through a situation where someone is able to give you the benefit of the doubt very easily. Someone knows who you are at least a little bit. They know that you're not just someone that's out for yourself, that's selfish. If you plant those seeds of goodwill, plant those seeds of love, plant those seeds of kindness in a situation where you might be in the wrong, or where there just might be a significant misunderstanding or whatever, you got some goodwill saved up, and they're like, you know what? This is the worst, but you and me cool. So I'm going to let this go. It's not going to be a big deal, or vice versa. You showing kindness to someone gives them a little bit of safety where they can show you who they are. And then if they screw up, at least a little bit about them to know that they're not just some jerks. I don't know. Makes sense to me. Always makes sense to you. I think planting positive seeds on purpose, it always leads to a general better tomorrow. Sometimes that might come through some headaches. You know what I mean? When several of my friends really believe that you don't want people to be too familiar with you, because then they try to take advantage of you. And I have seen that in my life. I've just never experienced it at the level where it was unmanageable or, significantly life altering, I guess. And I'm grateful if I've, actually, on the other hand, now that I think about it, I have. But I'm still here, and I'm still alive. I still have the ability to enjoy my life, and I actually just thought of how my recent situation is most definitely an advantage, where someone took advantage of my kindness. Maybe kind of, sort of. I don't know. Point being, people gonna do what they're gonna do, but if you establish some goodwill, you increase the possibility of some better things happening. You put more love in the world, the result is there's more love in the world. You can receive some of that love sometimes. Sometimes you might show kindness to someone and it never comes back to you from that person. But I think it's still important, because if you want to be the type of person who is kind to people, you got to be kind. If you want to be the type of person who is a loving person, you got to be loving. And that means you have to do things that are loving. Small, normal, significant. It's your choice. As I said in the last episode, it's your life to live. You decide who you're going to be. You decide the path you're going to take, and your life will take shape around those decisions. But I do believe the concept of kindness is very, very powerful. I think it's on par with things like truth and integrity and a real and active spiritual life. I think those things kind of make or break your ability to navigate life in a way that will lead to a joyful existence. I know that might be super deep, might be too much, but I do believe that. And I just, there's so many examples I can offer. Another one is a very, very good friend that I lost. Our relationship started because I was friends with his wife through a ministry that we all participated in. She was a choir director, and we all became good friends. But there were a lot of things in life that were kind of difficult for me to deal with, and he would hear me talking about it, and he chose to be someone that I could talk to. He made several gestures and conversation, and also in behavior, where he would just let me. I was really, really young. He would just let me hang out with him, and he's a cool dude. He's very easy to talk to, and he showed himself to be an adult that I could be open and honest with without the fear of kind of getting in trouble. I was very young, and so he would let me hang out with him. We'd run to the store, or whatever. He often would buy a lot of movies, and he would let me borrow movies all the time, and just general stuff like this, being a nice person to a younger one, and over time, he became one of my absolute closest friends. And he was one of those people, like I mentioned in the first episode, that I could almost always call him and he would pick up. And if it was at all possible, he would give me his time, and he would call sometimes to check in on me or whatever. And we could just talk, and he would share his successes in life, and he would share his failures in life. And our friendship was rooted in his gestures of kindness to me at the beginning. That's how it started, because there was no reason for him to need to let this young dude hang out with him, because he was a grown man. He was married, he had kids, he had a job, he had a life. And even though we were just kind of over all the time, his wife is a very social person, so we would often hang out and loud people or whatever. So we were around a lot, but he didn't have to be open. He didn't have to let me to listen to all my issues. And I was in middle school and high school. I think at that time, let me think, I would have been in high school and college. He didn't have to, but the fact that he chose to open up his time, to open up his heart, open up his life, he taught me a lot about life, particularly what I just told you before in the second episode about how important it is to know yourself and to choose to live your life the way you choose to live it, being considerate of other people, but just remembering you have your life to live, and nobody can make you be who you don't want to be or do what you don't want to do. One of the awesome things about him is he was himself, and no matter who he was talking to, what he was talking about, he was very confident in himself. He knew what he thought. He knew how he felt. He was open to learning, but he was just kind of unapologetically himself. And he taught me the power in that what really matters is you need to spend time learning how to live, and then you make your decision based off what you learn to do as best you can. But the other people part of it, other people can help you, other people can teach you. But if someone doesn't see a part of life the same way you do, doesn't mean you're wrong. It might mean you're wrong, but it doesn't automatically mean you're wrong. Just because someone has an issue with a decision you make or part of your life or something you do or whatever, what does matter is if you're honest with yourself, right? So if you mess with drugs and somebody's like, yo, you need to get off drugs, well, they're right. You get off drugs. But, for things, for example, a lot of people I went to school with are artists, visual artists, in terms of like painting and sculpture and design and things like that. A lot of people I went to school with are actors and actresses. I don't know, are we allowed to say actresses anymore? They are people who be acting, whatever the current socially acceptable term is. They are those in the theater. And I think some of them went on to be in TV and film and stuff like that. But just, creative people, musicians, dancers. We went to school with a lot of dancers as well. And a lot of us were able to find a path in life to do what we love to do. And some of us didn't. And the reason some of us didn't is because a lot of people that I went to school with come from families that are not very active in artistic aspects of life. A lot of people that I went to school with that were very skilled and very talented would have to go home to people who didn't care about their creative pursuits. They didn't. Their interest is in whatever it is that they put their faith in, whether it was acumen or reputation or accomplishment or money or, money and or wealth. And so, being a person who wants to pursue a path of life that does not guarantee a lot of money, it's very difficult when you go home to a foundational belief that is a very low priority and there's low value in that, right? So I have ongoing friendships and relationships with people who really struggle in life because they are unhappy. And it's because they're living a life doing things that they don't really want to do, but it satisfies the cares and concerns of people that they care about, right? Parents, significant others, community, whatever, And so they're living their life based off what someone else wants for their life. That's what I was trying to get at in the second episode. And having a mindset where you want to plant a seed of kindness, you want to offer gestures of love, you want to, say and do and be a positive part of a moment for someone or a positive part for someone else's life, right? To me, that's what the concept of kindness is. Means that sometimes you make a decision to do something for the benefit of the other person, whether or not it's comfortable or convenient for yourself, but you're doing it for the other person. And so if you imagine that concept being in a home, if you recognize that someone loves to do something. I remember there was a woman I worked with who loved to knit. I mean, loved it. That's all she talked about. And we were not in any type of situation where knitting was relevant. I worked in security for a long time. I was a security trainer and manager and all that. She loved to knit. Talked about it all the time, different ways to do it, blah, 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 blah. And there was a coworker who just thought that was ridiculous. And he would crack jokes and all this type of stuff. And there was a moment where I didn't think it was cool. And so what I thought would be a kind gesture was to kind of defend her because she wouldn't speak up. And it seemed like he was getting to her. And I was like, yo, like, why do you care? If that's what she wants to do with her life, if it makes her happy, why does that bother you? She's not knitting with your stuff. She's not stealing yarn from you to get her knit on. Why do you care? Why can't she do what she wants to do with her life? You do what you want to do in your life, and everything's cool. You know, why can't you embrace the fact that this is something that she likes and you might get a hat or some gloves or something out of it? Or what are you doing? Why is it your decision to down her when she's not bothering you about it? And this was me talking to him because he and I were friends as well. And I'm like, yo, leave her alone. She's not bothering you. You're bothering her. Some kind of way she found out about it. I don't know if he talked to her or whatever, but she found out about it. And, she expressed some gratitude. She, thank you so much. Appreciate it, whatever. And I think she made me like a hat or something. It wasn't very good, but it was very nice. It's very nice. It was a very nice gesture of her because she was grateful that I, made a decision to at least try to make her life better in some way, to get this person up out of her face, to leave her alone about it. It was great. So when you choose to do so, know that a simple act of kindness could be very simple to the person, might not be a big deal, but it also could be very major. Could be a very significant and life-changing part of somebody's life, might not even be a big deal for you. Also remember being, I think it was off of Laurel Canyon, maybe Coldwater, up in the valley. And long story short, there was a vehicle behind me and the vehicle in front of me. The person in front of me did not know how to navigate an intersection. So, when you get the green light at a very busy intersection, you pull into the intersection, and then once you can, you make your turn. But if you don't go into the intersection, when the light goes red again, you got to wait, and everybody behind you got to wait. Well, this person in front of me did not know to do that. So they were sitting behind the line in our turning lane, waiting for the traffic to clear. And I think we went through like 2 lights, and it was getting ridiculous. The person behind me just went nuts, and they're blowing the horn, got out of his car and was going to come yell at me, but then realized that I was the one in the front. Went up and just beat on this lady's window and screamed and yelled at her. And what are you doing? You stupid. You got to go in the lane. You stupid. You can't drive. Get off the road. Get out of the way. It was awful. Like, he just went ballistic and he scared her. Right. So when the light turned green again, she tried to do what he said, but you could tell she didn't know the concept. Right. So she eventually was able to make her turn, and she pulled over on the street. I pulled up behind her because I could see she was upset. I pulled up behind her. This is a very risky thing. Like, I could have made it worse, but I felt compelled to try and show some love. So I pulled up behind her and I walked up and I basically explained, separate his attitude and his demeanor from what he was explaining, because what he said was true. The way to do this is to blah, 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 blah. That's the way to, make your turn. I was like, but he was a jerk. Obviously, he's got some issues in his life where a simple matter in traffic was enough for him to be a horrible person to you on this fine day, right? That ain't got nothing to do with you. That's got everything to do with him. That's his issue. And, I could tell he scared you, but that ain't you. But in the future, this is how you navigate this kind of traffic situation. You do this, you do that, and then you can do that, and no more problem. And I was like, that's it. Just wanted to throw that at you, hope you're okay. And I was turning to leave, and she grabbed my hand. And she kind of she was an older lady. She kind of patted my hand and she said, "Thank you so much." She was like, "I did not know that. I've only been driving for a couple years." And that was a big surprise to me because she looked like she was probably in her late 40s, maybe early 50s. This was like maybe 9-10 years ago. She just pat my hand and thank you so much. I didn't know that. And she asked me to kind of explain it a little bit more. And I just kind of repeated some stuff and gave context. And she was like, thank you so much, because he really scared me. And I struggle with driving because I waited so long, and it's, LA is such a very dense place for traffic. She was like, it's terrifying. And, she said, thank you. And we had a nice moment, never saw her again. Some people don't even say thank you. but offering that moment of love, I don't know, yo. To me, it's worth it. You do open yourself up for some issues sometimes. I just think the good outweighs the bad. So be kind, rewind. Those of you old enough to remember the VHS days, Blockbuster and whatnot. So that's it. If this has been helpful to you in any way, like it, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. If you think it could help somebody else, share it. Let me know. Tag me. That'll be cool so I can kind of see the ongoing conversation. Love you. Talk to you soon.
If it's my time, then it's my time. Worry about yours, 'cause I got mine. 'Cause I got mine. Worry about yours, 'cause I got mine. 'Cause I got mine. Praise and production.